And it's a UFC debut ×2 coming up this weekend. We have Dana White's Contender Series vets out of Sweden. It's Thunder. Josephine Knutson, she's going to be taking on the sawed-off savage, Marnic Mann. And for Marnic Mann, I don't know if she's going for title of best or worst nickname, but when you look at Marnic Mann and some of the performances that she's had, there's no denying that she's deserving of that nickname. She's willing to pull guard at all costs. She has great jiu-jitsu off her back. She's got a trippy body lock. I was going to say a tricky, but I went with trippy. She has a trippy body lock to trip takedown, and she's very aggressive when the fight does touch the mat. And for Mann, she wasn't able to get it done in her Contender Series fight last year. I picked against her on our Dana White's Contender Series show, and sure as Bruno Brazil went out there, and listen, Marnic Mann, I was down on her striking defense. That's why I picked Bruno Brazil. But Marnic Mann with the hands down, Bruno Brazil with the foot up. She was able to land the shin on the face, and Mann goes down. It's a
down goes Mann! Down goes Mann! Like she's Joe Frazier.
That's it. It's a call heard around the world. So for Mann, she takes some time off. She builds herself back up. Earlier on this year, she fights with the LFA against Amber Brown, a former Invicta Atomweight title challenger, somebody that have fought Hamasaki, Ashley Yoder. You had a lot of big names on Brown's record, but Brown was coming off of a 3.5-year layoff. Again, former atomweight moving up to strawweight. And in that matchup, Mann in the first round struggled in the grappling. In the second round, she was able to rally back through it. The third round was very close, but Mann was able to land some good ground and pound during the middle moments of that third round. She ends up picking up the decision win. So Mann gets that win over 7-6 Amber Brown. And now after a while, she's in the UFC. And Mann's one of those interesting fighters because as big of a grappler as she is, we've seen her. If you go over to her Instagram, trust me when I say this, I spent 2 hours watching tape study on this fight today. I watched Marnic Mann fight in boxing contests this year, at least one of them on my journey through the YouTubes. Mann going out there boxing like she strikes in her MMA. Throws a little bit of a jab, throws the left hook, just goes to the well with that left hook like it's me playing UFC 4. Doesn't throw much of a leg kick. Again, struggles with some of the striking defense. And in this fight, Matt, for Marnic Mann, another fighter out of Montana. Very underrepresented state when it comes to big-time MMA. Yes, now all of a sudden you think of the bantamweight champ Sean O'Malley, but after that, who's out of Montana? The Dean of Mean, Keith Jardine? Who else do you have out of Montana? Not so many. So Marnic Mann representing Montana Mixed Martial Arts. Her life partner is also a fighter, so look out for that. 12-5 with no contest is Gage Saunders. But overall, again, Matt, for Marnic Mann, really is do or die with those takedowns. And if the fight doesn't touch the mat, she can struggle a little.
Do or die with a lot of her game is the real issue. When I went back and watched Mann, I just want to piggyback a little bit off of your striking defense note. It's not just as bad as she's stationary on the outside with her hands up. She can be known to freeze a little bit when she's moving backwards, and that's what does concern me. It's not a matter of, hey, my hands are up. If you hit my hands, that's good. If you go around them, good for you. She will just kind of get hesitant on the outside, especially backing up on that back foot. And that's how it did lead to that head kick loss that she suffered on Contender Series. That's the thing that I do worry about with Mann. You bring up her grappling. It is very strong when she's able to get it in positions that she can have success in, but Mann's somebody who will jump from submission to submission and not always secure the position after it, and that's something that does worry me in a matchup really against anybody in the strawweight division, because a lot of these fighters we're seeing at 115 pounds, remember when Joanna was champ, it was a lot of specialists, right? Everybody in the top 15, they were just good at a different part of MMA, whereas now you have to be pretty well-rounded, and for Marnic Mann, I do like some of the things that she's able to employ in her game, but I don't like her striking moving backwards. And from the southpaw position, I think if she could weaponize her movement a little bit more, she'd have that much more success, because she is kind of tricky with the way she holds her hands and her head. She does a good job of getting inside and outside of the pocket, but she doesn't make her opponent meet her halfway to accentuate her own punching power. And if that was a part of her game to where, hey, every single time you enter the distance, she's making you pay with a good shot, it would make her that much more difficult of an opponent to deal with, especially in a matchup like this.
So this fight is on short notice. You have to look at it. Josephine Knutson fought back on August 22nd against Isis Verbeek over on Contender Series, and due to my travel schedule with work, you haven't seen a Contender Series show from us. So I follow along on Twitter on Tuesday nights, and by golly, by gosh darn it, were people upset that Josephine Knutson didn't get a contract. So far, Out of 25 fighters on Contender Series this summer, as of taping, Sunday before another week of Contender Series, 22 have earned contracts, and Knutson was not one of those fighters, taking on Verbeek, and it was a story of these are two strikers. If you look at it for Knutson, in 2018, she was a world champ in Muay Thai. She got a win there over Janet Todd, former one championship champ Janet Todd. So for Knutson, I looked at her as being one of these fighters that, from the outside, without watching any of the tape, okay, she's a striker, right? She trains at All Stars Training Center. You're only going to get better with your takedowns and your takedown defense. And then you go through it and you watch these Josephine Knutson fights. And in her fight against Verbeek, the first strike that she throws after a bit of a feeling out process, a head kick, it rocks Verbeek. And then just like a pleasure man Anton Turkali out of the same gym, she runs forward with a flying knee, and then she gets into a clinch position. And after watching all of these Knutson fights, not just the fight against Isis Verbeek,
I thought she lost the Austin fight.
Dana White said, I just don't see it, or I just didn't see it tonight. He wanted to see more of the finishing instinct. When you go back and you watch these Knutson fights, she gets into a lot of clinch positions. She tries to throw a lot of uppercuts, and they're very good. And she's incredibly strong when it comes to the whizzer positions. Now, you hate to see that now.
She can get caught, though.
Yeah, after Jack Jenkins kind of popped that elbow against Chepe Mariscal last weekend. But going back through her fights, again, she beats Isis Verbeek against Jacinta Austin. I thought Austin won the first and the third round in that one as well.
She arguably could have won the second.
The fight that Knutson had on Road to UFC against Yodam So, who was somebody that had fought Zhang Wei Li. So was coming off a 3-year layoff, and you had Knutson as a minus 1,300. She was able to defend the takedowns, use that whizzer, get things into the clinch, and bust up her opponent in the striking. I think if you look at it for Knutson, very, very intelligent guard.
Oh,
really good with her leg kick. She keeps her hands really high. She doesn't tend to tire as these fights go on. Defensively, incredibly sound. And we're striking so good. Her clinch work, it sets up some of her knees, but not a lot of elbows. The uppercuts are good. Sometimes she can hang out in the clinch for a little bit too long, but she seems to be stronger than 90% of these women. And for Jacinta Austin, where that's a split decision win in her second to last fight, Austin, on the same day, is going to be fighting for the vacant Octagon Championship in this division. And if you don't know, now you know. Octagon is up for the World MMA Awards promotion of the year. So that's a big promotion, and Austin is a really good fighter. Won her next fight after losing a split decision to Knutson. So when I look at this fight, Matt, this is my handoff. I think Knutson wins this fight 9 times out of 10, and I don't think it's overly
When you
competitive.
say stuff like that, it makes me nervous.
Even though Knutson, again, she fought on August 22nd. It was announced on August 29th, a week later, that she'd be taking a fight on short notice against Jasmine Lucindo. Lucindo's out of the fight, so it was announced on September 8th that Marnic Mann would be stepping in, and both of these fighters now making their respective UFC debuts.
I agree with everything you said about Knutson, but there are a few things about her game that I don't really enjoy, just from the way that it all works together in a big synergy. Because she does do a good job on the outside, but another area of her game, and I'm glad you bring it up, is the clinch. And she does do a good job offensively with the clinch. You will see those uppercuts, dirty boxing, you will see the elbows over the top, but she's just meeting her opponent halfway to shoot for some takedowns and make her life that much harder. And that's the one thing about her game that I don't know how it's going to translate up to the UFC level, because if she is having success on the outside and decides to rush into her opponent and try to get some of those uppercuts off, you are just getting rid of your own space that's helping you get the win in the first place. So I do think she's the more talented striker on the outside, and I think that's primarily where this fight's going to be contested at. But if she does have that tendency to close her own distance off, it is going to make me worry when she's facing people at a higher level of competition.
Again, 27-5 in kickboxing, Muay Thai for Josephine Knutson, the former world champ there. For Marnic Man, very adept once it touches the mat. And for Knutson, sometimes she can hang out off her back. She throws really good up kicks. You saw that in some of her fights. The fight against Verbeek, you saw a little bit of the grappling. You did see it against Austin. She will throw up the triangle, the armbar, so on and so forth, to get herself out of position as well. So you look at this fight, it was thrown together on incredibly short notice. We have a look at the Tapology vote. Surprised us there to you. I'm going to say over under 90% Knutson in this one.
I think it'll be under, but she'll be the favorite.
And 424 total votes, 95% Knutson, 83% by decision. We live in a world where Sean Strickland is a middleweight champ, Matt. Anything is possible. Gosh,
this is a direct quote from me last night. If you told Sean Strickland the fight can go exactly how he wants it to go, I still don't think he'd win. So hey, that's an L on my behalf.
I do think, though, that Thunder Knutson brings back the win to Sweden in this one.
I think she's gonna get the win, but this is a fight that really interests me for both fighters moving forward and who they could fight next in their possible matchup. Because if Knutson does look good against Mann, is that definitely going to tell me everything I need to know when she's facing these other kind of prospects moving up the division? Not necessarily, so I would like to see her have a really nice performance, and then we can start talking about what's next, but I do have her in this fight.
Both of us going with Sweden's Josephine Knutson to get the win in the matchup. Let us know if you have the sawed-off savage out of Montana in this one. Some big-time fights on the card. Matt, we're looking forward to Fernando Padilla taking on Kyle Nelson. That's a good one. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.